All right. How are you all doing today? I am Dr. B. I am your host. You are part of the Living Boldly with Purpose podcast. Today is a treat. I cannot wait for it to happen. I've had a few conversations with Donna offline and trying to do it live or not trying to do it on a podcast. And I can tell you, she's got her stuff together. She knows what's happening in a ways that when we think about living boldly with purpose and what that means, I can't wait for you to hear her story. I can't wait for you to think about in your life, if you're saying, I would love to live my life with a purpose where I know exactly where I'm going. And there's some things that she does as part of her coaching and part of the things that she helps people out with that actually helps you to find that exact purpose and how that would work in your life. And so I've asked her to kind of tell her story and tell us all about who she is. And I tell all my guests, I say, you can start back at your childhood and then move back into where you're at now. You can start somewhere in the middle. The big thing is you can't get it wrong. The only thing, if you were to make it up, Donna, the only person who's going to really know is your mom or your relatives, and then they get mad at you. But I don't think she's going to do that because there's just so much juice and so much just things that are happening in her life that I'm sure that she is going to share with us. And then after that, we're just going to chop it up. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be organic. We're going to ask a few questions about identity and some of the other things that we're doing in order for you to get the best out of it. And so if you're watching this, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but when I started watching podcasts, I didn't realize that they were like in my mind, I'm thinking they're giving me all these gems and I'm trying to write them all down as fast as I can. And then thinking I could actually just hit the pause button, then write it down and then be able to move forward. But I didn't think that. I'm trying to rush and trying to figure out and I can't read my writing. And then I got to the end and I go, wait a minute, I can just go back and listen to it again. I don't have to rush. So if you're one of those folks that is like me, who doesn't think through stuff like that, then yeah, go ahead. And if you're watching this as recording, hit the pause button, write down, because you're going to be able to take some amazing notes today. She's also going to come with us in April and May with our conferences, the Becoming Through Action 2026 conferences. And she's going to even share some more and get more in depth on the things that she does. So you're going to want to register for those conferences as well. So Donna, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being willing to spend your time with me and with us and telling us your story and who you are. I can't wait to hear it and to spend more time with you. So the floor is yours. You're off to the races.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. B. It is, since we very first met, every time we talk, it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing where God leads this conversation today and where it goes. I'm going to start when I was quite young. I did not have a relationship with my biological dad. And I mention that because we're going to talk about identity, and those kind of things shape how we see ourselves. And it affected how I saw myself as well. And as children, it doesn't matter even as adults, but especially kids, it doesn't matter necessarily what occurred. Somehow we always equate it to something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. It's like my parents divorced because something was wrong with me. My dad didn't want me because something was wrong with me, or whatever. It's like it's just what our subconscious mind tries to find a meaning for it. So that was one of the meanings that I didn't even realize that I was developing. My mother remarried and we became a blended family, which has its own interesting dynamics. There's challenges when you're trying to do that, but it's even more challenging when it's really important how the world perceives us. So even if there is an issue, it's not talked about because we have to be a perfect family. And so that whole image that is so important. So when there was any issues, they couldn't be really discussed with anybody because we're the perfect family. And I move along from there to when I was 14, I became pregnant. And this wasn't consensual. So there's a lot more I could say that I will not say today, but you can read between the lines. And so at 15, I became a mom. And I raised I had a little girl, one of the biggest joys of my life. But remember where you were when you were 15. We're not thinking about raising a child. how we're going to finish high school at the same time making money. All of those kind of things was what I began to go through at the age of 15. So I was 18 with a 3-year-old. It's just kind of like mentioning these numbers to get that perspective. And the forecast, mostly whispered about me, wasn't necessarily a positive future. And all of that occurs around those kind of situations. So my self-esteem was not high, but I really looked good on the outside. How many times did we go, I'm okay, when we're really not okay? And we're even fooling ourselves thinking we're okay. But I graduated high school, was full-time employed, and had my own place about 18. I was 18. So I was a go-getter, but my motivation is I've got to prove everybody wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good for getting some things done, but it's also some really exhausting behavior. You're constantly trying to prove everybody wrong. You're also always trying to prove your worth, if you will, value, and it can be very exhausting. And all of that has to do with identity and the way we see ourselves. So that's the story of the beginning that brings me to married life, more kids, grandkids, etc., to the woman I am today.
Oh, cool. So, oh my gosh. So when we think about identity and the identity that we all hold for ourselves, and we think of, you're telling me right now that, you have to grow up at 15 years old.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make it. Are you getting support from your family to help you through this? Is this where you're just like, I don't know what to do, I just know that I have to go through this, and then you're just a fighter? Kind of, maybe just tell me a little bit of how that worked for you.
I was able to live with my family. So I did live with my parents until I got my own place. I was expected to pay expenses as much as I had money for. So that was also part of the picture. But yes, I did have some family support. So that was very good.
Okay. So you have your family, but they're still expecting you to hold your own. And at 15 years old, I can remember I went and I got a job and I worked at a restaurant but my parents never asked me for anything. I mean, they didn't ask me for my money that I was making from work. They didn't ask me to help, do that kind of stuff. How did you do that? I mean, you have a baby, you're trying to take care of a baby, and then are you supposed to like pay babysitting fees and all that kind of stuff as well? Are they watching it while you're at work trying to?
I paid that, and I paid rent. Yes, all of those things.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't imagine. But I'm just thinking, like, but you figure it out, and you're at least you have a place to live. You have a roof over your head. You got food on the table. Now you're in your 20s. You have a baby. What is, like, you're a mom, and maybe kind of just talk about what it meant to be a mom. Because I've known some teen moms that I've worked with in ministry before. In fact, with Young Life, we have like a whole teen moms program when I was working with Young Life, where we brought up, and some of the, they love their babies and they love that process, but they were almost kind of, I don't know if I want to say spiteful, but they were just like, hey, this baby took my life away from me. I want to be a kid. I still want to have fun. I still want to do things that the other kids are doing, but I can't. I guess my life is over. And that was kind of the thought process that I believe a lot of them had, is my life is over. Maybe kind of talk about how that was for you and your process during that time.
Oh, I never felt that way about my daughter. I did feel it about the circumstances. There was a separation for me. And then it's one of the things that I didn't mention is I had a relationship with God at a very young age.
Okay.
And at the age of 12, I had an encounter with God and a relationship, and was raised in a religious home. And so I had a knowledge of God, but I wouldn't say it was a deep relationship that grows with time. But he began to talk with me early on in different ways of, you are lovable. You do have a future. There is someone who wants to spend his rest of his life with you. There are good things in store for you. And so to me, that is a very big difference for where I could have ended up and where I did end up. Is I wanted to serve God, and I always have as far back as I can remember. And so learning that capacity was when I will, when God says he would give you strength, that was something I relied on every day. There's a scripture in Isaiah that says, my seed won't beg for bread. And I did, this wasn't just Bible. This was like, I need this or I'm not going to survive and eat. So, your seed won't beg for bread was one of the scriptures that I stood on. And so this wasn't just a religious thing. In fact, I wasn't going to church on a regular basis, but this was a relationship. And that's the biggest difference that made in my life. On the other hand, the things you're talking about is I did have to go through a grieving process of all the things that I thought were going to happen that didn't happen. Like, this seems so super silly as an adult, but not as a 16-year-old. I can't go to a prom.
Yeah.
I can't go to public high school. I can't do anything. I mean, in my romantic mind, high school was a wonderful place. I know now that that's not the case.
You probably fared better as a result, right?
But the imagination of how we think it should be causes grief when it's not.
Yeah.
And there, even if it is an unrealistic, it's still a loss of, I thought it was going to be this way and it's not this way. And I began to process, without realizing I was processing, the grieving process of what I thought was going to happen that was not the case in my life, and what was going to be my life. And God kept telling me it was going to be good. Now, my husband and I have now been married 41 years. So, his word was true. There was someone who was going to be crazy about me and will do anything that I ask and all of those things. So it is possible, but that made a huge difference from where I am today and where I could have been without him.
I love that. And one of the things that I'd love for you to continue to talk about is how that experience and being able to lean on him and have him come true to the word that you've been reading. Because sometimes we read our Bibles and we go, okay, I don't know if this really applies or this, that, but you are in a situation where you have to lean on him. And it reminds me of that scene in the shack where, God says that, I'm especially fond of you. And I could tell that you felt that. And then now you're moving forward to the rest of your life. So how has your faith and being able to lean on that helped you through all the other things, 41 years of marriage and growing kids that go to college and grandkids, all the things that have now become your life? How did that kind of springboard that? So now you can lean on God even more and more and more and more?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And it's the same way in marriage. The depth of our relationship today is different than it was when we first met. It does get deeper and sweeter, different with time, but it does get those kind of ways. And yes, I remember when I met my husband and I was telling him about my life, because that's a whole thing. You got to you meet a new potential boyfriend. And not only am I the age I am, but I have this responsibility already, which is not normal, if you will, air quotes, of people my age. And so it was the process of elimination of a lot of men. They just like, no way.
They don't want to take on that responsibility. They're going, wait a minute, I just want to go have fun and date. I don't want to be tied to all that is part of your life. And so
so an 18-year-old normally is outgoing, having a good time. Me, I've got to be home by a certain time because of the sitter and and if I get serious about this girl, there's a family. And so, it was a process of elimination rather quickly.
Yeah. Oh
So, but the relationship you're talking about and learning how to walk that out. So when I met him, one of the things I invited him to church, of course, and I was talking to him and I said, God has never failed me. Now you look at what had happened to me in my life, it could seem contradictive, but he didn't cause the circumstances. He walked through them with me. And that's a lot of times what hinders us from having the deep relationship with God. We think a relationship with him is an avoidance of pain.
Hmm.
We live in a
That's so
fallen
good.
world. It isn't an avoidance of pain. It's someone to walk through it with
Yeah.
us, giving us
Yeah.
protection and enablement and provision when it looked impossible. And so that's one of the biggest shifts, is learning that a relationship with God doesn't mean you'll never have a problem again. As in Moses, he didn't take them around the Red Sea. He didn't take them under it. He took them through it.
Yeah.
And that's the way he walks with us through it. The process strengthens us in our relationship with him, because whether we like it or not, we can't build strong muscles without lifting weights.
Yeah.
And the same
Absolutely.
goes for our spiritual muscles. We
Mhm.
can't get strength and grow in our relationship with God without a little bit of adversity. And, life we don't have to pray for it. There's enough of it in the world.
Yeah, we don't
Mhm.
like that saying, don't play for patience, because it's it's gonna, that he will show you. Well,
Yeah.
so you mentioned that, because I can't not ask you about your marriage and how you've been able to do it. When it's 41 years, there's got to be some definite clues that are in here. But you said at the beginning that you invited him to church. Was he already going to another church? Did he have any clue who God was? How did that transpire before, as you were starting to date him?
He was in the military, so he wasn't
Okay.
in his home state. When then that,
Okay.
that tells you one thing. So he was in the military and stationed in the town that I lived in at the time. He did grow up going to church,
Okay.
but you can go to church without having a relationship with God.
Oh, heck yeah, you can.
So he knew about him. He did
Okay.
not know him
You know,
until he met Donna.
there we go. And Donna shared. Oh my gosh, that is so neat, because God obviously ordained it and planned it, and the intersection of you meeting him and that kind of stuff. So what? So now you guys are going to church, and you decide to get married, and you already have a daughter, and but he's okay with that. Did he get out of the military before you got married, or you?
Yes, he
Okay,
got
so he
out.
got out of the military. He spent his time there. So just how does one go 41 years and still love the man as much as I could tell that you do, and your relationship? I mean, it sounds like God's in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But what are some other things that you've been able to do in order to be married at 41 years for 41 years?
Well, we made a couple of commitments, and we did go to the church that we're involved in had a lot of different marriage support
Okay.
workshops and
Mhm.
weekends and classes, and it's doing all of that. And all of that is important, because we think that we're going to have a great marriage, just like I'm going to have a great car, but I'm never going to change the oil.
I love it. Yes. What
And
a great
it's
analogy.
it's pretty much the same thing. We think, I'm gonna have a great marriage, but I'm not gonna put any effort into it. I'm not gonna change the oil. I'm not gonna have the tires changed or rotated and all those kind of things. And there is some maintenance. There is some intentionality. And we would say there were times where we didn't really like each other. At least there's moments, I don't really like
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna choose to love you. I'm gonna choose to forgive you, but I don't really like you right now. And so we've had those moments, because I mean, there's lots of stories over 41 years that I could tell. But one of the things that we made and I think we got this at a couple of seminars. We committed to two main things that made a huge difference in our marriage. And
Okay.
the first is we promised to never intentionally say anything to hurt the other one.
Okay.
That means no name calling, first of all. Is like no
Mhm.
no derogatory. If I know that that's going to hurt him, that's not something I'm going to say. And I'm not. And so if we do hurt each other, which we have, we know it wasn't intentional. And that's an important
That's huge.
factor in all,
Yeah.
because then you can handle it differently. It hurt me when you did that. And so then we can talk about it a different way than thinking he did that to hurt me on purpose. So that was one thing. And the other thing is we decided that whenever there was a disagreement, something we didn't agree on, Most of the time, one time I had a car accident. Let's say that I did a fender bender and I banged up the first of the car. Okay, his response could have been, "What's wrong with you? Weren't you looking? How are we going to pay this deductible?" That kind of thing. That could have been the response. Or, so in that kind of situation, if you would imagine the problem is in the middle of the table and you're on one side and he's on the other, and you're like, at this problem. Got the picture? Are you with me?
Froze up a little bit, but we'll catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, I said you froze up for a second, but we're catching up. So
Okay.
Technology, right?
Did you hear me about the table?
You said sitting across the table, but then I didn't hear what you said right after.
Okay.
Because
So the
you had the
problem
car
is
accident.
the problem is in the middle of the table. He's on one side and I'm on the other, and we're opposed to each other, talking about this problem, right? Okay. So instead of doing that, sitting on the same side of the table, and we're a team locking arms, and the problem's over there, and together we're going to solve it.
Wow.
And physically doing that is so powerful, because now it's not, if you hadn't have done this and you hadn't have done that, no matter who is at fault, it didn't matter. We're on the same side of the table, locking arms, looking at the problem, going, okay, the car has been broken. What are we going to do about it? And when you do that, it changes the dynamics of how you're approaching difficulties.
Man, I love that. I mean, I've never heard that before. I know, this last weekend, I told my wife, she says, "I love you." And I said something like, I was just messing around, but I said, "Yeah, I love you for at least the next hour." And she goes, "No, you might not like me, but you love me forever." So she was joking around with that, and we were kind of thinking, but at the same time, we had this conversation, and we just have chairs that are kind of next to each other, and we were having this go back and forth. And physically, we were just like you just said, we weren't facing each other as opposites. We were sitting and we went through it. And I don't know if that's a natural thing that we do, or it just happened to happen. It is so neat today, as I did a whole devotion this morning in my routine life thing that I did on naming the hurt and saying it's okay to say you hurt me, and it's okay. And now you're bringing it up and reinforcing it today, which is just so cool. But I love those two things. I love the fact that you never, ever intentionally trying to hurt somebody, because hurting people hurt people. And we both know that. And it would be so easy if you don't make that commitment to just end up lashing out and then having to go back and apologize later. What is that, after 1 day, after 2 days, after a week? But if you never even know that it's not intentional, wow, what a great way to go. Well, I see Vibrant Living is right next to your name. We're talking about Vibrant Living ideas and stuff. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then we can continue to jump in to some of your stories, because I'm just enthralled right now with all your
Well, I've always been the girl where people were telling me what was going on in their life. It just naturally occurred. And it's some of those things that when we think that they're just normal for us, that we don't always recognize purpose in those things. And I knew when someone asked me young on is, what am I going to do? I'm going to help people, but I'm not sure what that was going to look like at that time. Vibrant Living is a place that empowers people to stop identity theft, which we've talked about, to find out who they are, whose they are, and to step into that with grace and ease, empowering people to leave behind. I don't believe God's kids should ever be burned out. They should never be overwhelmed. There should never be the level of stress that we think is normal in our life. And teaching people and showing them the path and partnering with them to be able to grow in their kingdom spiritual intelligence. I often say, as business owners and leaders, we often look at our KPI, but instead we should develop our kingdom spiritual intelligence, which is a method I've created, and I call it our KSI. And so learning to grow in your spiritual capacity, in your relationship with God, on who he says you are and what your gifts are, and how to step into your purpose, is all about what Vibrant Living is about.
So you actually help people find that purpose and
Yes.
what that is. And is it just like a whole set of questions or what? I mean, I don't want to give you all your secrets, but it's a relationship, I'm sure. It's not like somebody just, because there's so many people that are wondering out there, like,
Yeah.
why am I here? I don't like what I do every single day.
Yeah.
And you're saying we shouldn't be burned out. We're God's greatest gift, right? So what are some of the things that you're
The
able?
ultimate is not to ever be burned out. Have I been burned out? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And so, but I'm learning now and teaching others and partnering with others to, Dr. B, people ask me that all the time. So how do I know my purpose? Do you have a questionnaire? Do you have like a personality test? Do you have like this kind of thing? Because I just want this to be quick. Like, give me a questions, give me a magic booth and go abracadabra. And then I'll just know my purpose and it'll all be better. And no, as I'm jokingly saying this, that's not the way that it works, to be able to just magically say, I know, but I do have framework is a better way of
Mhm.
putting it, to help people to discover purpose. And it isn't always an overnight thing. And I think the length of time you and I have lived, our purpose in different decades was different.
Absolutely. Different
Even
seasons.
though there was a core theme
Yeah.
for you and me helping people, how that looked in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, and on is different. And so that is also part of it, is understanding purpose is a flower, if you will, that's blooming.
Mhm.
It's gifts that are growing. It's capacity to handle it growing in us. And we want to abracadabra, it's all done. It's all better, if you will, but it is growth. It is growing in your spiritual intelligence. And what does that mean? And what does that look like? And allowing it to be an exciting journey instead of I'll be happy when.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that. And the reason I asked you the question, and you answered it just like I knew you would, is no, it isn't a magic pill that you take and your purpose jumps out and you're doing it. It is a process. One of the things that as I help people, I think about alignment and helping people find alignment. But I think service is one of those things that people have to learn. It's a muscle, like you were talking about, is when you're in service of others, because I don't know if you can find, and maybe you can answer this, can you find your purpose without serving others? And I don't know that that's possible,
Yeah.
but but serving is something that is also learned, and what that means and how that, I guess, puts itself out or finds itself. And you have to, before you can find, I guess, the true purpose, you have to be willing to serve a little bit in different places in different ways. I mean, give me your thoughts on service.
Well, my gifts aren't for me.
Ooh, I love that.
Just letting
Say
think
that
this
again.
that one
My
sit a
gift.
minute. And it's like, my
Yes.
gifts are not for me. Are they fun? Yes. Do I have a ball when God is operating through me and they're flowing? Absolutely. But they're not for me. They're for you. And so
Yeah.
when we can recognize that our purpose is tied to, like you're saying, service, they're not for us. My purpose isn't for me. It isn't for me to necessarily be fulfilled, even though that's an outflow
That's an
of it.
outflow. That's a
It is
product.
a side effect, a side gift, a side bonus, whatever word
Yeah.
it resonates with you. But it is something that happens through it all, because I'm at my best when I am doing what my gifts are, where I'm in, I call it my sweet spot. And it is not hard. It's like you lose track of time. It's that place where you could just do it all day long and you're energized, not depleted. And when you're in that place, but it isn't, even though I'm feeling all of those wonderful blessings from it all, it's for the people that I'm sharing it with.
Man, that's probably the best I've ever heard that explained. We're beautifully and wonderfully made for a purpose of using our gifts for the service of others or for enhancing mankind. And when you think about how God created us, is that we would find enjoyment
Yeah.
from doing what he gave us gifts to do.
Let me just do this little side note. It'll illustrate it. I don't really like the example, but it will help illustrate it. There are a lot of leaders in Christian communities that have fallen. They're unfortunately the ones that are big in the limelight. They're, if they do something off track and they fall, they get into some kind of wayward behavior, and you wonder why their gifts they still seem to be able to minister to people. It's because their gifts isn't about them.
Yeah.
It's about the people. And that's why it occurs. Because if it was me, if the person got into sin or some behavior, I'm like, the gifts are gone. No way. They're done. But God doesn't take back his gifts.
No.
He gives you the opportunity for restoration to you. But your gifts are about others. And that is an illustration of how it works in God's kingdom. And it's different than the way man might do it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that anointing, like, you know, a pastor can still get up on the pulpit week after week and still be anointed because that's the gift that he was giving. And it can bless others and move, even though, because we all have fallen through it, right? We
Absolutely.
all have,
We've all fallen short.
we all have things that we have to repent for. But God designed us in a way, man, I'm just so excited about this conversation about these gifts and, you know, trying to find what those are. I think for me, one of the things when I think about gifts is I think there's things that I like to do and there's things that I don't like to do. And most likely my purpose isn't going to be rooted in something I don't like to do. Like I don't like doing accounting or bookkeeping. So I don't have the bookkeeping gift. And so my purpose isn't to go be an accountant. And yet sometimes because of our societal pressures, they pressure us into following these steps of my mom said I had to be a doctor. So I guess I got to go be a doctor. How do you help folks through that process when I guess they've been pigeonholed, or I don't know if that's the right word, into the things that they're truly not gifted at? They're just doing it because somebody else told them to.
Well, the first thing is discovering what they do like, rather than even thinking about purpose. It's like, who do you want to be? What are you going to be known for? A lot of times we can get really keyed up on whether you're an accountant or whether you're a doctor or whether you're this or whether you're that.
Yeah.
And
the job title.
If you think about more about who the person you want to be, let's say integrity. Let's use that. That's an important value. So if someone says you need to be an accountant, and we're usually talking to people that are past the stage of where parents are enforcing that.
Yes.
Usually when I'm talking to people, they're past that stage. Maybe they've been an accountant for a long time. They became an accountant because their mom wanted them to, or whatever, that kind of family pressure. But we're at a stage where their family isn't necessarily. So who do you want to be? Do you want to be a person of integrity? Yes. Do you love what you do? No. Then what are you going to do if you're a person of integrity? You can't continue to say you love something that you dislike. So what would you like to do? So begin to make that process. And about values, do you see how I step back from job to values of what's important to you? So if you worked for a corporation that was taking advantage of people and that's not one of your core values, you can no longer be there and stay in integrity. So what are the next steps? And when you begin to ask questions like, well, if I can't be here, what are the next steps? You open up your spirit, your mind, to look for possibilities. Because if I also say, I'm stuck here, there's no way out, I will never see the way out.
Yeah.
And so begin to open up from what is your values that you want to be known for. And then begin to say, if this is what I'm known for, there is a way. There is always a way, is one of my favorite. I always know what to do. I may not know it the second, but I always know what to do. And I've got a Bible verse on that I teach that, to begin to say that. I always know what to do. Because what keeps us stuck is, I don't know what to do. How do I can figure this out? I don't know how this is going to work out. This doesn't look good. And we get stuck in that, and our spirit can't even receive insight from God when I'm in I can't, there's no way, I've blocked myself in to hear anything at all.
Yeah, I always know what to do. That is so cool. Well, and think about what you just said about values and stepping away. Especially here in our country, we spend so much time defining ourselves and our identity by what we do, not who we are. And when you step back and you look at values, that's who we are. It's not what we do. And that's what's important. And the integrity that goes along with that is so very important.
I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. And who am I going to be in this moment? Am I going to be a person who gets easily offended? Or am I going to be a person who forgives and lets things go? Who does Donna want to be? And when you begin to ask that question about yourself, it makes you pause and say, who do I want to be? It doesn't matter. It isn't the primary, I'll put it that way, the job you are holding. It's who you are being while you're doing it, because then you can open yourself up to new possibilities.
I have one further question before, because I know we're running on time, but wanted to, is there a time frame, or like, is it too late? Because some people tell me that are kind of at our age, like, I guess I missed my calling. I guess I missed what God had for me. Maybe speak to that just a little bit, because I don't think there is, but people tell me there is.
I've read a lot of studies, because I've done studies on this, and I've read a lot of other people actually doing scientific studies on this. And the people who are actually make the most impact or biggest impact in the world is 60 to 85.
Thank you.
And there are studies, because there's one thing, Dr. B, you quit caring what people think.
Yeah, exactly. You do. And you have experiences.
You just don't give a rip anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And that opens yourself up to really say what you want to do. I know I really hate this. I want to do this instead. And I don't care if you don't like it. But there are so many possibilities. The amount of wisdom that you've acquired just by living life, even if you totally messed up a lot of it, to that. So quit saying, just like you say to your mind, I can't figure this out. If you even think I'm out of time. I had somebody, they turned 60 and they said, well, I'm like, I don't have enough time to do the things I want. And I'm like, let's pretend you live to 90. You have a 40-year-old child. Do you think that 30 years doesn't matter? And it's like, if 30 whole years to do something with your life, even 20.
Yeah.
Is 20 years to do something and make a difference. I'm like, think about it. If you had somebody who lived for 20 years, that's significant. So what do you want to do in the next 20, 30 years in your life and make a difference? Or you can sit on the couch and go, my life is over. What do you want? And I want you to have a vibrant life. One of the things, Dr. B, I say is I want to help people live a life of no regrets. Mm-hmm. That they've lived a life fully, and whatever that is, if the song comes on, dance.
Because we don't care what other people think. Oh my gosh. Well, and thank you for sharing that, because you see so many folks that are, got the TV tray out, watching television, letting life go by. And you have all these experiences, right? All the things, all the mistakes we made. You have 41 years of marriage that you can pour into somebody else, and you have all the things you go, wait a minute, when I was 20, I was not too bright. I wasn't too smart. But now that I'm 60, oh my gosh, I have so much to give and so much. Physically, it might be a little bit hard, but who cares? I mean, we just got to work on our bodies. We got to go for our walks. We got to do our yoga. We just have to spend extra time, but we have it. Our kids are grown. right? We're not in that time where we're trying to figure out how to make sure that they're okay and make sure that, they got their lives. I have a 38-year-old son who is doing fine. He doesn't need me he hasn't needed me for a long time for his daily stuff. But now I have the ability, and I just love that you said that, because so many people come to me and think, well, I don't have much time, and I'm like, no, we got time. We got all kind of time. So you got to spend it.
One of the things that I teach as well, and I'm not sure I originated it, I'm sure I didn't, I learned it somewhere, but is like, if you take from age 20 to 70, that's 50 years. Did you live 50 years, or did you live 1 year 50 times?
Ooh, yeah.
The same year over and over and over and over.
I know there's some duplicates in some of those years for me, for sure.
Me too. I don't want to admit it, but me too.
Yeah, there's some absolute duplicates in it. I pray that these are, oh my gosh. Thank you for that. I've written down so many cool things. What didn't we talk about that you want to make sure, that people know? How do they get a hold of you? How can they, experience some of the things that you're talking about with you? Love to hear that.
The easiest way to find out all about me and other resources that I have is on my website, and it is the letter I, vibrantliving.com. And I'll draw attention to a place if you would like to talk and discover more about your purpose. There's a place you can schedule a call with me. There is also a link to find out more about my podcast. And I have a school community, if you haven't heard of SKOOL, that is an offline, it's off social media community where I pour into you and have resources available. That link is there as well. I do speaking. There's a link for that. So there's different resources on my blog is there, different resources available for you to check out and to help it facilitate your growth. Growth doesn't just happen. It is on purpose. Otherwise, we've just lived the same year this year as we did last year. It takes intentionality. And other thing I caution against is DIYing it. There is tons of information, more than ever in my lifetime, as far as what you can find online, but it isn't curated wisdom for you. And that is one of the things that I do is whenever someone has a call with me, I go to the throne room for them to find the wisdom they need for their life and help them in that area.
Yeah, thank you. That is it's not curated. When I think of YouTube and all the DIY stuff that's out there, and I think of that, it might be teaching you a concept or teaching you something, but it's not coaching you how to move through it. Right. And there's some things that, I always go back to the analogy of if I wanted to learn how to be a pilot and I was going to fly an airplane that other people that were in were depending on me, I probably wouldn't go to YouTube to learn how to be a pilot. Right? I probably have to go to somebody who knows what they're doing. And yet so many people think, yeah, I can get all the information that I need. Right. I can even go to ChatGPT and it can give me everything I need. Well, no, it doesn't have the wisdom in it. And I just appreciate you sharing that. For those of you who this is your first podcast that you've seen, go ahead, subscribe, notification of ours. This has just been an incredible conversation, and I love that we squeezed it all in. We had some more. Donna's going to, like I said, going to be with us in April and in May. If you go to becomingthroughaction.live, and I'll put the buttons and links in there. Make sure you go to the website before you go to something else, before you scroll to something else. Jump on her website right now. Look at all the things that you could be learning, all the things that you could be doing. Give her a shout out. I promise you, your time will be worth it. Donna, give us one last thought before we close up today, and then we will make sure that we end it well.
First thing I want to do in ending is remind you that you are loved more than you can ever imagine. And my prayer for you is that you would not just know it, you would experience it. And I encourage you to get up every day and proceed as if success is inevitable.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, folks, she said it. I can't say it any better. Don't forget you're God's greatest gift. He loves you. You allow him to. You are also the answer to somebody else's prayer. So just be aware, just be attentive, just be out there knowing that God could use you today. You were born for greatness. I can't wait to see you again. Thanks for being on today. Well, you guys have an amazing, awesome, incredible day, and we'll talk to you on the next one.